Good morning. Um, sorry, little. I just got done walking the turkey dog. It's kind of cool here this morning, so she required a longer walk since it's pretty much the only activity she's going to get today. Because what's going on is we're entering into June. So down here, June, July, and August, pretty brutal with the heat. Her being an older dog, her already having urinary tract problems. She's not permitted to be outside and get dehydrated very much. She's not going to be allowed to be able to go out and play like you would typically find. Like I said, she can't get dehydrated because of the urinary tract problems, but she seems to have absolutely no problem with playing chase around in here and with more or less taking the day off and sleeping, because she is a dog and she's an older dog, so they sleep. But in mornings when it's nice, it requires me, because I'm not able to use the recumbent, because again that will cause her to overheat. She can go out and get some exercise a little bit more, and I will walk her around. I took her to the ponds this morning, which was quite a bit more than I usually do on my legs, but she's worth it. So I posted another video yesterday as well, and it is specifically over this whole thing about the white South Africans and their preferential treatment in our immigration system. Beyond that, I'm going to say no more about it. Just know that I'm not happy about the whole situation, and I explained it in that video as to how things were when I was there. And yeah, we left off yesterday at chapter 13. We're starting Proverbs chapter 13. A wise son heeds his father's instructions, but a mocker does not listen to rebuke. From the fruit of his lips a man enjoys good things, but the unfaithful have a craving for violence. He who guards his lips guards his life, but he who speaks rashly will come to ruin. The sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. These are basic common sense type of properties. I mean, think about it. If you're in an office setting and you're just gossiping, chances are good it's going to cost you your job. So, he who guards his lips guards his life, but he who speaks rashly will come to ruin. If you're just running around saying whatever you want about anybody, telling lies, gossiping as much as you can, spreading things that you shouldn't be, then you're going to be bringing your life to ruin, because you're likely going to lose your job. No one is going to feel like you're trustworthy, so they're not going to want to associate with you, and they're not going to trust you. The sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. You can either lay around and say, oh, well, I really want this and I really want that, or you can get up and work towards it. Common sense. The righteous hate what is false, but the wicked bring shame and disgrace. Righteousness guards the man of integrity, but wickedness overthrows the sinner. One man pretends to be rich, yet has nothing. Another pretends to be poor, yet has great wealth. In other words, if you're playing the game and you're acting like you've got it all, and the reality is you don't, well, you're essentially lying. And chances are good you're lying to increase your wealth. Which, again, because life is not fair, we do find that sometimes liars do prosper. If, however, you're an individual that has great wealth, and you are an individual that has had that great wealth for quite some time, and you understand what it took to get that wealth, then 9 times out of 10, you're not actually going to be flaunting it. You're not going to be, shoving your wealth in everybody else's face. You're going to understand that you were graced with what you have. Whether it came through hard work and it was your hard work, or whether it was the hard work of your ancestors, or, however you came by that wealth, a lot of times you're going to understand what it took to get there. So you're not going to overplay it. A man's riches may ransom his life, but a poor man hears no threat. The light of the righteous shines brightly, but the lamp of the wicked is snuffed out. Pride only breeds quarrels, but wisdom is found in those who take advice. Dishonest money dwindles away, but he who gathers money little by little makes it grow. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. He who scorns instruction will pay for it, but he who respects a command is rewarded. The teaching of the wise is a fountain of life, turning a man from the snares of death. Good understanding wins favor, but the way of the unfaithful is hard. Every prudent man acts out of knowledge, but a fool exposes his folly. A wicked messenger falls into trouble, but a trustworthy envoy brings healing. He who ignores discipline comes to poverty and shame, but whoever heeds correction is honored. A longing fulfilled is sweet to the soul, but fools detest turning from evil. He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. Misfortune pursues the sinner, but prosperity is the reward of the righteous. A good man leaves an inheritance for the children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. What that means is that eventually the sinner is going to die, and all that they hoarded, all that they took up, all that they claimed as theirs is going to wind up being spread across the people. Across all of those people that they wronged, all of those people that they cheated, all of those people that they stole from. A poor man's field may produce abundant food, but injustice sweeps it away. He who spares the rods. Okay, I understand that. A poor man's field may produce abundant food, but injustice sweeps it away. This is what we're talking about, okay? This is what I have said over and over again. Your choices will affect the community, and the community's choices will affect you. You may be going through struggles. You may be poor, and you may see that your field is producing immense amounts of of food, and you should be well off because you have all of this great, wonderful food to take care of you and your family. But something happens, injustice, unfairness comes along, and your field is destroyed, whether by bugs, by fire, or possibly by thieves. There is unfairness in this world, and you will struggle. Even though what you have should be more than sufficient. What happens is choices are made, and not necessarily your choices. But choices are made, and they create struggle in your life as well as the lives of others. And that is what I have been saying all along. So once again, when it says a poor man's field may produce abundant food, but injustice sweeps it away, we have to understand that just because, we've done all of the work that we needed to do does not mean that life is going to be fair. It does not mean that we aren't going to struggle. We will. It's an unfortunate truth. But it is not one that we should allow to bring us completely down, because what we may have lost will still never compare to all that God's grace provides. Hey, that'll do. Thank you. Hey, ma'am. That's not necessary. Thank you. You need to use your inside voice. You know better. The lazy man does not roast his game, but the diligent man prizes his possessions. Once again, sorry. We read that. My bad. He who spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is careful to discipline. Okay, so that has been used for many, 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 many generations to endorse corporal punishment upon children, to spank, to hit. I would say that if you have to resort to physical violence, then you're not using your whole brain. Do not get me wrong, I got my fair share of spankings and deserved every one of them. Don't tell my parents, I won't admit it. But the reality is that, we've gotten to a point now where we understand the effects that these things have. I also will tell you that trying to reason with a 2-year-old is kind of pointless. They're not going to, unless they are an extremely advanced child, they're not going to understand the concept of no and reasons as to why no. They're just going to think, if I throw a fit, I might get my way. If you acknowledge the fit, then chances are good you're rewarding them in some way, shape, or form. Now, I'm not a parent. I don't have to correct kids. I will say that if it gets beyond a swat to the rear, then you're probably needing to take a moment, step away, and reevaluate how you're going to come at this problem. Because, as I said, we understand the effects of corporal punishment on the child's brain and the child's behaviors better today than we did in that day. I don't have kids. If you feel you need to spank your child, again, that comes down to you. But if you get to the point where you're raising your fist and getting ready to hit your child, walk away. Violence does not ever solve anything. That's my personal opinion. Violence does not resolve anything. It only creates more issues that have to be dealt with. They may have to be dealt with later in life, but they create more issues. Deal with it as you choose, but let's just say that using a rod on your child, a cane, that's not okay. So don't immediately take that as verbatim as to how you need to correct your child. Every child's different. Every parent's parenting style towards that child should be different. The righteous eat to their heart's content, but the stomach of the wicked goes hungry. Chapter 14, the wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands the foolish one tears hers down. He whose walk is upright fears the Lord, but he whose ways are devious despises him. A fool's talk brings a rod to his back, but the lips of the wise protect them. Where there are no oxen, the manger is empty, but from the strength of an ox comes an abundant harvest. A troubled witness does not deceive, but a false witness pours out lies. The mocker seeks wisdom and finds none, but knowledge comes easily to the discerning. Stay away from a foolish man, for you will not find knowledge on his lips. The wisdom of the prudent is to give thought to their ways, but the folly of fools is deception. Fools mock at making amends for sin, but goodwill is found among the upright. Each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can share its joy. The house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent of the upright will flourish. There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. Okay, hold on, sorry. The house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent of the upright will flourish. Understand what that is saying. You can have a house of brick and mortar and big, nice, wonderful roof over your head, and it can be worth large amounts of money. But it can easily be destroyed. And yet, if you have nothing more than a tent, if you have nothing more than a canvas covering, you can still grow. Your spirit can still grow. Your wealth is not determined by the money that you have. Your wealth is determined by the mindset, the joy, and the wealth that you understand you have been provided by God. The spiritual wealth. You don't have to have it all, because it can all be taken from you. But even in the midst of just a tent, you can have so much. There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. Even in laughter the heart may ache, and joy may end in grief. again, as long as you have that spark of joy, you can make it through everything. You have to understand that, yes, life is going to happen. You are going to lose those that you love. Those that love you are going to lose you. You know, you can laugh in the midst of heartbreak because you have joy. And even in the midst of your loss, you can still have that joy. The faithless will be fully repaid for their ways, and the good man rewarded for his. A simple man believes anything, but a prudent man gives thought to his steps. Educate yourself. A simple man believes anything. Do not believe everything that someone tells you. If you are believing everything that you are told, then I assure you, you are believing lies somewhere. Educate yourself. Take the time. If it's important enough for you to repeat, it is important enough for you to make sure you are getting it correct. A wise man fears the Lord and shuns evil, but a fool is hot-headed and reckless. A quick-tempered man does foolish things, and a crafty man is hated. The simple inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. Evil men will bow down in the presence of the good, and the wicked at the gates of the righteous. Evil men will bow down in the presence of the good, and the wicked at the gates of the righteous. Okay. The poor are shunned even by their neighbors, but the rich have many friends. He who despises his neighbor sins, but blessed is he who is kind to the needy. I even need to explain that one. Do not those who plot evil go astray? But those who plan what is good find love and faithfulness. All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. The wealth of the wise is their crown, but the folly of fools yields folly. A truthful witness saves lives, but a truthful witness saves lives, but a false witness is deceitful. In other words, if you're speaking the truth, it's the same with a court proceeding. Think of it like that. You're putting your hand on the Bible, you're swearing an oath to tell the truth. If you do not tell the truth and you are found out to be lying, you are supposed to pay the costs of perjury, which actually is supposed to be time in jail. However, for whatever reason, we seem to have quit doing that. And it has led to a lot of lying, especially in the upper echelons of our government. And we see it every single stinking day. Every time that convicted felon opens his mouth, he is lying. Every time his little buddy, rich guy, opens his mouth, he's lying. They do not seem to know what the truth is. And they do not educate themselves. And that can actually destroy a lot. And it can lead a lot of people astray. And that's not a good idea. Because truthfully, and this is something you really need to think about before you go about spreading lies and falsehoods. Again, this is why it's so important to educate yourself. Because for every soul that you lead astray, there is a cost you have to pay. There is a judgment that you will face at the time of judgment before God. You will stand there having to explain your reasons, having to explain why you lied, why you led that person astray. It's not a good time. You're not going to enjoy that. Judgment is harsh no matter what you do. But when judgment comes from God, it is complete and total. He who fears the Lord has a secure fortress, and for his children it will be a refuge. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, turning a man from the snares of death. A large population is a king's glory, but without subjects a prince is ruined. A patient man has great understanding, but a quick-tempered man displays folly. A heart at peace. Excuse me. I'm getting the words wrong because they're a little too far away from me. A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. He who oppresses the poor shows contempt for their Maker, but whoever is kind to the needy honors God. When calamity comes, the wicked are brought down. Oops. But even in death, the righteous have a refuge. Wisdom reposes in the heart of the discerning, and even among fools, she lets herself be known. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people. A king delights in a wise servant, but a shameful servant incurs his wrath. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Okay, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Remember, I want you to go back and remember all the way back in David. When David and his men were on the run, they were roaming here and there, and they had been protecting herders. They had been protecting sheep herders, specifically the sheep herds of a very rich man. I want to say it was Nabal, but I might be wrong about that. I cannot remember his name, but I do remember hers. Her name was Abigail. And the herders went to the they went to the master, their master, and they said to him, hey, David and his crew are looking for some refreshments and foods and supplies, and they've done a really great job making sure that we don't have to work that hard, making sure that we don't run into any bandits. Nobody has lost any sheep since they showed up. And this man says to them, I don't care. Send him away. I don't need him to come and beg from me. Who is he to me? I don't care. I don't need his help. I don't need him here. And so what winds up happening is when Abigail hears it, she winds up running to David, gathering up all these provisions and things of that nature. She winds up running with these donkeys that are all loaded down and goes to David and says, oh, hey, I know this man is stupid. I am so sorry that he said that. I know what you've done for our people. Understand, that is what we're talking about here. Her answer was a gentle answer. and it turned away David's wrath. Her husband's answer was really just very vile and was about to incur the wrath of David, which would have brought down death upon all of the men in this guy's household, whether servants or his own family. Part of me wants to say Nahum, part of me wants to say Nabal. I know, it doesn't really matter, but it is just driving me crazy. But the reality is the way in which it was answered, the way in which David wound up turning aside was because of a gentle answer, because of a woman recognizing that what had happened was really kind of a bad idea and giving a much gentler answer to the king. Just a minute. I was right the first time. It's Nabal. Nabal. But that's the story. Her answer was gentle and turned aside David's wrath. Keep that in mind when you are dealing with a person. Again, think for a moment. You don't know what they've just gone through to show up here in this rage and anger. And you should really respond to them the way that you would want someone to respond to you. So don't just immediately give wrath for wrath. Respond with a gentle response, and it will calm the situation. The tongue of the wise commends knowledge, but the mouth of the fool gushes folly. The eyes of the Lord are everywhere, keeping watch on the wicked and the good. Kings take pleasure in honest lips. They value a man who speaks the truth. A king's wrath is a messenger of death, but a wise man will appease it. When a king's face brightens, it means life. His favor is like a rain cloud in sky. When a king's face brightens, it means life. His favor is like a rain cloud in spring. Sorry. How much better to get wisdom than gold, to choose understanding rather than silver. The highway of the upright avoids evil. He who guards his ways guards his life. Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. We've been over that one. Sorry. Better to be lowly in spirit and among the oppressed than to share plunder with the proud. Whoever gives heed to instructions prospers, and blessed is he who trusts in the Lord. The wise in heart are called discerning, and pleasant words promote instruction. Understanding is a fountain of life to those who have it, but folly brings punishment to fools. A wise man's heart guides his mouth, and his lips promote instruction. Pleasant words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and healing to the bones. There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end leads to death. Again, that is not just speaking of a physical death, that is speaking of a spiritual death. We want to avoid spiritual death. Physical death comes to us all. But the spiritual death does not have to be ours. The laborer's appetite works for him. His hunger drives him on. A scoundrel plots evil, and his speech is like a scorching fire. A perverse man stirs up dissension, and a gossip separates close friends. A violent man entices his neighbor and leads him down a path that is not good. He who winks with his eye is plotting perversity. He who purses his lips is bent on evil. Gray hair is a crown of splendor. It is attained by a righteous life. Better a patient man than a warrior, a man who controls his temper than one who takes a city. The lot is cast into the lap, but its every decision is from the Lord. Chapter 17. Better a day crushed with peace and quiet than a house full of feasting with strife. Better a dry crust with peace and quiet than a house full of feasting with strife. A wise servant will rule over a disgraceful son, and will share the inheritance as one of the brothers. The crucible for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the heart. A wicked man listens to evil lips. A liar pays attention to a malicious tongue. He who mocks the poor shows contempt for their maker. Whoever gloats over disaster will not go unpunished. Okay. So a wicked man listens to evil lips. A liar pays attention to a malicious tongue. Understand that liars are going to repeat lies. Liars are going to look to create more dissension, more division, more problems. That is clearly not of God. God is truth. God is love. If you mock the poor, you're going to pay a price. Because, plain and simple, God has already made it clear back in social responsibility in Deuteronomy, from God to Moses and Moses to the people, you are not to have poor among you. You are to take care of those less fortunate than you. If you gloat over someone's misfortune, if you make fun of someone with disabilities, if you use someone's misfortune of a natural disaster to, try and make yourself look good, you're going to be punished for it. You will be punished for it. It will come back to you. Children's children are a crown to the aged, and parents are the pride of their children. Arrogant lips are unsuited to a fool. How much worse lying lips to a ruler. A bribe is a charm to the one who gives it. Wherever he turns, he succeeds. Okay, bribery is not a good thing. It's not. His success is going to cost him an awful lot. I mean, he will succeed. Essentially, he will succeed because he's bribing people and giving things to people. We know that bribery is wrong. We know it's wrong. So all that success that they may be having now will not be success in the spiritual life. He who covers over an offense promotes love, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. A rebuke impresses a man of discernment more than 100 lashes of fool. An evil man is bent only on rebellion. A merciless official will be sent against him. Better to meet a bear robbed of her cubs than a fool in his folly. If you don't understand that, a bear protecting her cubs, pretty vicious. A female bear protecting her cubs can actually fight off a much larger male bear. And yet this is saying that a fool going about acting stupid is more dangerous than a female bear protecting cubs. That's pretty stinking dangerous. If a man pays back evil for good, evil will never leave his house. Starting a quarrel is like breaching a dam, so drop the matter before a dispute breaks out. Acquitting the guilty and condemning the innocent, the Lord detests them both. Of what use is money in the hand of a fool, since he has no desire to get wisdom? It took me a minute there because I really... Acquitting the guilty and condemning the innocent, the Lord detests them both. We see that all the time in dictatorships. We see that all the time in monarchies. We've had a very recent example of it here in the United States. That's all I'm going to say. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. A man lacking in judgment strikes hands in pledge and puts up security for his neighbor. He who loves a quarrel loves sin. He who builds a high gate invites destruction. A man of perverse heart does not prosper. He whose tongue is deceitful falls into trouble. To have a fool for a son brings grief. There is no joy for the father of a fool. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. A wicked man accepts a bribe in secret to pervert the course of justice. A discerning man keeps wisdom in view, but a fool's eyes wander to the ends of the earth. A foolish son brings grief to his father and bitterness to the one who bore him. It is not good to punish an innocent man or to flog officials for their integrity. Again, some recent examples here in the United States. A man of knowledge uses words with restraint, and a man of understanding is even-tempered. Even a fool is thought wise if he keeps silent, and discerning if he holds his tongue. We're going to go ahead and go through 18 because it ends over on this next page. An unfriendly man pursues selfish ends. He defies all sound judgment. A fool finds no pleasure in understanding, but delights in airing his own opinions. When wickedness comes, so does contempt, and with shame comes disgrace. The words of a man's mouth are deep waters, but the fountain of wisdom is a bubbling brook. It is not good to be partial to the wicked, or to deprive the innocent of justice. A fool's lips bring him strife, and his mouth invites a beating. A fool's mouth is his undoing, and his lips are a snare to his soul. The words of a gossip are like choice morsels. They go down to a man's inmost parts. One who is slack in his work is brother to one who destroys. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. The wealth of the rich is their fortified city. They imagine it an unscalable wall. Before his downfall, a man's heart is proud, but humility comes before honor. He who answers before listening, that is his folly and his shame. A man's spirit sustains him in sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear? The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge. The ears of the wise seek it out. A gift opens the way of the giver and ushers him into the presence of the great. The first to present his case seems right, till another comes forward and questions him. Casting the lot settles disputes and keeps strong opponents apart. An offended brother is more unyielding than a fortified city. and disputes are like the barred gates of a citadel. From the fruit of his mouth a man's stomach is filled. With the harvest from his lips he is satisfied. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Essentially what that is saying, the last couple of verses, what that's saying is what you speak can be life to someone else. It can be encouragement. It can change the course of a person's whole day. Make sure that you use your words in righteousness. Speak truth. Speak God's words. So that way you're not misleading people. You're not bringing people to death. He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. A poor man pleads for mercy, but a rich man answers harshly. A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Okay, and that takes us to chapter 19. That's where we're going to leave off. You're going to start to notice a little bit of repetition to the meanings and morals behind some of these proverbs. The reason is truthfully, if you don't get it one way, you might get it another. So different words are used to express the exact same sentiment. So you will find there are many times a lot of repetition in it, because Solomon is not writing this to just one son. He's writing it to all his sons, and we have already found that Solomon had a lot of sons. And just like we discussed earlier, to be a good parent, you have to be a different parent to each child. Your parenting style has to be different for each child. You can have one child that is just obstinate and is never going to take any level of correction and is going to continually sit there and look at you and go, well, what happens if I do it anyway? And requires that you tell them what the punishment will be, and then they will evaluate whether that punishment is going to be something that they want to pay or not. And then you can have another child that just speaking a harsh word to them, like, what do you think you're doing, is going to set them into tears. They're softer. They're quieter. They're more easily injured. They're less concerned with punishment than they are with disappointing you. So each time you hear a proverb that sounds as though it's repeated from earlier, will recognize that, okay, you may have already grasped that concept, but someone else, it may take 10 times hearing the same concept through Proverbs for them to understand it. Again, Solomon was not speaking specifically to us. He was speaking to his sons. These are writings that were meant to go to his children. And we already know that he had a lot of kids because he had a lot of wives. And we already know that each child is going to be different. So you have to, each person is an individual. So you have to adjust to help them learn. If you're a teacher, you know that each and every child that you deal with is not going to understand things the same way. That was one of the things that I had to learn while I was teaching in a vocational school in a third world nation. In an unindustrialized nation, I had to learn that my students were not all going to learn at the same pace. They weren't all going to learn the same way. I had to occasionally, instead of going through the front door and just telling them the exact principles of the science or the English or the math, I had to sometimes sneak around and come through a back door and then walk them through a whole other path to get them to the same spot as the other students. And if you're a teacher, you know that not everybody learns the same thing at the same rate, at the same time, through the same methods. It's the same with parenting. It's the same with Proverbs. They're going to repeat a little bit. So don't just immediately brush it off. Take the time to listen to them. And even if they do repeat, understand it may not just be for you, or maybe there actually is something else that you can hear in that proverb. Now, let's say our prayer and go about the day, making it a great day. God, my holy Lord, my King and Savior, merciful and mighty Jesus, the lover of my soul and friend of my spirit, we come to you on bended knee, begging God, seeking your presence, seeking your forgiveness, continually seeking your face. Help us to continually look for you in each and every day, and for each and every face that we see. Remind us, God, that you have given us all that we need to follow you. Help us to do so. Forgive us our many sins. We know that you are a loving, mighty, and merciful God, and we know that when we come and we ask, you will forgive. Help us, God, to remember you're the God of social programs. You created them. You designed them, gave them to Moses, told him how to work it. And it is spread to us every generation through your word. Help us to remember that we should be taking care of those less fortunate than us, God. Let our minds become your mind, God, that we would continually dwell on the thoughts you would dwell on, have us dwell on, and that we would think of others as you think of them. Let our eyes become your eyes, that we would continually see others as you see them. Let our ears become your ears, that we would hear your words of truth no matter what words are spoken. Let our mouths become your mouth, that we would continually open our mouths and sing your praises, lifting our voices high to glorify you. Let our lips and tongues drip with your praise, God, and with your truth. Let our hands become your hands, that we would be continually about your labors, working to build your kingdom, giving where you give, loving where you love, caring for those you would have us care for, feeding the hungry, housing the homeless, giving to the poor, protecting the foreigner, the oppressed, the orphaned, the widowed. Help us, God, to remember you're that God of social programs. You're that God of choice. You gave it to us. You told us to live it, God. Let our feet become your feet, that we would be continually on your path of righteousness, so that when others follow us, they would in fact follow you. Lead us through your mercies and your graces, God, so that others will follow through and know your mercies and your grace. Let our hearts become your heart, that we would continually love others as you love them, that what breaks your heart would break ours. Let your Spirit fall down upon us, Lord God. Let it fill us to overflowing. Let us be so full of your wisdom and your discernment that no one can come into our presence and walk away not knowing you. We want to radiate with your light and your love, God. Let us be about your day, following your ways and your truths, God. We pray all these things in your holiest, mightiest, most glorious name, Jesus. We say amen. Go about your day. Make it a great day. Be kind to yourself and others. And, I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to pick up tomorrow with Proverbs 18? 19? 19, I think. We'll see you tomorrow.